Ishta Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Kritantosti Apadrani Vidunoti Sahasratam Nashtaprayeshu Apatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So this is really, today will be a summary of what we have seen so far. Canto 4, Chapter 8. Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest. So I'll just seek the blessings also, and then we'll start. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Seeking the blessings from everyone, so I'll be able to speak on the summary and not adding any of my interpretations. And thank you so much for this opportunity for my own purification. So in this chapter 8 of Canto 4, where it is Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest, there were a total of 82 verses. And there are 6 sections. So the verses from text 1 through 7, it reviewed the descendants of Swayambhuva Manu. 8 through 23, it was about Suruchi insulting Dhruva Maharaj, and he leaves home. Verses 25 through 38 was Dhruva Maharaj meets Narada Muni, his spiritual master. 39 to 62 was Narada's instructions to Dhruva. 63 to 70 was Narada visits King Uttanapad, and 71 through 82 was Dhruva successfully executes Narada's instructions. And we have been seeing and discussing so many of the realizations and teachings from all of these pastimes. So just to review quickly, the text 1 through 7, it talked about the descendants of Swayambhuva Manu. So Maitreya Muni had already narrated the histories of Swayambhuva Manu's descendants. And in that context, he described the Daksha Yajna, which intimately affected Swayambhuva Manu's granddaughter Sati. And we saw that right before coming into this pastime. Now then he says that he will describe Manu's 2 sons, they are Uttanapad and Priyavrata. So Priyavrata was the first son and Uttanapad is the second son. However, Maitreya Muni immediately begins to speak of Dhruva Maharaj because he was very eager to describe his pious activities. Now with Dhruva Maharaj's pastimes, we can learn how to detach from material possessions and how to enhance one's devotional service by severe austerities and penances. This example of Dhruva Maharaj's austerities can immediately generate a feeling of devotional service in the heart of the hearers, right? And we see that as we discuss the pastime. Now, as I said, the text 8 through 23 was Suruchi insults Dhruva Maharaj and he leaves home. So we saw the pastime of Suniti and Suruchi, and really what happens is Suruchi is insulting Dhruva Maharaj and she says that you should have been taken birth from my womb. And otherwise, it's like there's no way, like you can otherwise sit. So that literally also meant that it's rather better that you die rather than be in this life. And then you have to die and come back and take birth from my womb. So that's literally what it was, just so insulting. So Dhruva Maharaj does react to that. He is really upset, and then he goes to his mother, right? That's what we saw, all of that. So his mother acts as his first spiritual master. In response to that lamentation, Mother Suruchi advises Dhruva to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we saw that. So, and Prabhupada also mentions in the purport that mere lamentation is useless. One should find out the means to mitigate one's lamentation. Because sometimes I think even we get so stuck in some of those spaces. Have you felt that, right? In some of the spaces where we are lamenting, and then sometimes it's really hard to come out of that space. So Prabhupada mentions that that's not the point. We have to think about how to mitigate one's lamentation. And Srila Prabhupada instructs that if one wants to free himself from the anxiety of material life, then one should also take shelter of Lord Vishnu. And there, Prabhupada actually quotes this verse from Prahlad Maharaj, which is given actually in Canto 7, Chapter 5, verse 5, where Prahlad Maharaj replied, "O best of the Asuras, king of the demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well. There is no water, but only suffering. One should give up the position and go to the forest, Vana. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavan, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And here Srila Prabhupada also explains that, where it is explained that go to Vana, it really means like Vrindavan. And also to think about it is also when we think about Vrindavan, right? It is really Vrindavan is anywhere there is chanting of the holy name, there is speaking, we are preaching about Krishna, and that is Vrindavan. That's what it's really mean, like take up spiritual services, devotional practices. The next sections 25 through 38 is Dhruva Maharaj meets Narada Muni, his spiritual master. Lots of important points in there. So Dhruva Maharaj, see, this is also practical in our own lives too, right? That when we are ready, Krishna sees that when the student is ready, Krishna sends the teacher, spiritual master, right? So in this example also, where Dhruva Maharaj, although he came out of the frustration, he was upset, he was angry, he wanted all that, whatever it is, but the situation, he was open to instructions. And that's when the spiritual master, Narada Muni, comes. And then what does Narada Muni first respond to Dhruva Maharaj? He says, "You are only a boy, so why have you taken your mother's insults so seriously, right? Stepmother's insults so seriously." And then that's the first thing he says. And after all the sufferings we experience in this life is from previous karma. So we may think, right? How old is Dhruva? He's only a 5-year-old boy. So he is not mature to take words seriously. So the thing is that if he's just a 5-year-old boy, then why is he even taking these things seriously? Even if the stepmother said like that, he's just a kid. I mean, kids play, they just forget and they just move on, But this 5-year-old boy, Dhruva, took it very seriously. So at that point, Srila Narada Muni is saying that if you are able to understand honor and insult, if you have the maturity to understand honor and insult, then this understanding should have been applied in his own life. He should have known that honor and dishonor are both destined by one's previous actions. Therefore, he should not be sorry or happy under any circumstances, but he should be able to understand the workings of Maya, Karma, and Krishna's mercy. So basically what it is that's the way how Srila Narada Muni, like he's responding to him. Then Narada Muni instructed, so to see everything as Krishna's kindness. And even this is a really important lesson, right? All the while our spiritual masters or senior devotees have told us this so many times, right? Anything that happens in our life, first we know it is all karma, but then when we become devotees and we have taken into Krishna consciousness, then we are being instructed to see everything as Krishna's kindness. Positive, negative, whatever happens in our life, it is all Krishna's kindness. And then that's where the verse, right, where Lord Brahma's prayers, Tattenu Kampa Susumikshamano that verse comes in, that no matter what happens, we take everything as Krishna's mercy and then move on, but still stick with the process. Don't give it up. Don't give Krishna. So here it is beautiful, right? In text 29, it says that the process of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very wonderful. One who is intelligent should accept that process and be satisfied with whatever comes, favorable or unfavorable, by his supreme will. So now how does Dhruva respond to this? First, remember he said about, you're just a 5-year-old, then why are you even taking this seriously? You should understand it's all by karma. So then after this, now Narad Muni is saying that you should understand it's all Krishna's will. So Dhruva Maharaj is saying, my dear Lord Narad Ji, for a person whose heart is disturbed by the material condition of happiness and distress, whatever you have kindly explained for attainment of peace is certainly a very good instruction. But as far as I am concerned, I am covered by ignorance. And this kind of philosophy does not touch my heart. So he's clearly saying that, I'm sorry, but I cannot take all this instruction. I have to really seek, whatever it is. I want to have a kingdom which will be bigger than my father, my grandfather, my great grandfather. So that's fair. So he says, my dear Lord, I'm very imprudent for not accepting your instruction. But this is not my fault. It is due to me having born in a Kshatriya family. So that's what he's saying. And my stepmother Suruchi has pierced my heart with her harsh words. Therefore, your valuable instruction does not stand in my heart. And here Srila Prabhupada also explains about how, we can be like, our hearts can be like those earthen pots. One time, if there is a crack in it, it's not easy to fix the crack. So similarly, like that, here he's saying that my heart is pierced. So I'm not able to take your instructions either. And then he says in text 37, O learned Brahmana, I want to occupy a position more exalted than any yet achieved within the 3 worlds by anyone, even my father, grandfather. And then if you will oblige, kindly advise me the honest path so I can achieve the goal of life. So Prabhupada explains that this was practically an impossible proposition, right? A 5-year-old asking that, give me the path. But because he was, by pleasing the Lord, a devotee can achieve anything, even the impossible. And this is clearly seen by Dhruva Maharaj's pastime. And then the section 39 to 62, when Narada's instructions to Dhruva. So Narada knew now Dhruva was seeking material aspiration, right? However, he took the opportunity to engage him in devotional service. I knew that he will be purified soon. So in this also we can see that, right? In our own personal lives also, we all are trying. We all have come into Krishna consciousness process and we are not pure yet. However, it is so much mercy of our spiritual masters, whoever, has taken shelter or received initiation from our gurus. They all knew that we are not there. We are not pure. We have so many contamination, material contamination and all of that. But they still take it upon themselves and they take us under the shelter and they're giving us all the guidance. So like here, very clearly we can see Narada Muni knew that and still he took over. Because why? Because he knew that he will be purified in this process. So it is a guru's duty to instruct the disciple how to perform pure devotional service and to engage in activities and attitude that will ever deepen the process. The spiritual master's happiness is in seeing the disciples' progress and advancement. And it is not like, giving any material objects or anything to the spiritual master, like giving any dakshin and this and that. That's not really what the happiness is for the spiritual master. But when they see that the disciple is so nicely sticking to the sadhana, so nicely progressing in devotional service, and the spiritual maturity is coming, that is what is going to make their heart happy. Because really that's the whole purpose, right? Why they took us even in the first place under the shelter. And then the next section was 63 to 70, where it was Narada visits King Uttanapad, where then Meanwhile, he goes there and he's inquiring to Uttanapad, like, what happened? Why, about the situation, although he already knows everything. But then Uttanapad he will open his heart and he will share how he's very regretful. And he was also very worried how Dhruva was doing. And at that time, Narada Muni is explaining that you don't need to be worried because he is in good hands. He's already taken shelter of Vishnu, and Vishnu is going to totally protect him. So that's what happens from 63 to 70. And then 71 through 82, Dhruva successfully executes Narada's instructions. And that was the last section where we saw about all the details about how he takes on the mantra. He does the mantra meditation, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and also he doesn't eat anything and he is completely focused on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. And then he's totally like it's going really strict his sadhana. And so that's where we ended and at that point his sadhana is so strong and he's also not breathing, like because of that the whole universe, the whole everywhere it is, everybody starts suffocating and they are able to feel because of the strict sadhana of Dhruva. So at that time Srila Prabhupada also explains that when a devotee does that, right, that can be felt by the entire world. And Srila Prabhupada also explained about this Sankirtan movement also, right? Even if there is one pure devotee, like even example of Srila Prabhupada, he came to New York, he came to US or Western world, everywhere. And with his sadhana, with his diligence, with his focus and concentration, he was able to spread that all over the world. Everybody in the universe, like in the world, could feel that Krishna consciousness, right? It was completely like disseminated into the whole world. So like similarly, like this example is given. So that's when Srila Prabhupada's purports, there's just so many of those teachings that is given so clearly. Like whenever this pastime is happening, Srila Prabhupada is able to exactly explain how it shows up in this today's world. And then some of the realizations, right, reading through this is really, the first thing I came to mind is that how it is explained that material existence, it consists of pious and impious fruitive activities, right? And as long as one's mind is engaged in material activity, there will always be happiness and distress. The happiness and distress is also a result of our previous karma. And the solution is really to take the shelter of the Supreme Lord, surrender to the Supreme Lord. And just think about that too, right? Like how are we, whenever things happen to us, which are unfavorable in our lives, how do we react to those? And the other thing also to think about is, it is not uncommon for us to also react, right? The process of shock and the grievance and everything will definitely be there. But what I have seen, the difference from coming into Krishna consciousness is that the length of time it takes to bounce back to normalcy has really reduced. Because in the past, if a circumstance would happen, it may take, like as I said, that space, wherever that space was, the negative space we are in, it may take about a month, something like that, to come back. But now, since having had this knowledge, having have the support of the devotees and having the support of this Krishna consciousness process, definitely we will react to situations, but the bouncing back, reverting to the normal situation or coming back to normalcy is definitely shortened. So that's just, again, as I said, it's my realization. And then the second one is like whether or not a person afflicted by material desires is still fit to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So many a times we hear that, sometimes people say that, what, I'm not there. I don't think I'm fit enough to start devotional service, but it's not like that. Anybody with whatever modes we are in, whatever it is, anybody is fit to start devotional service. And that's the verse, right? Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham puram. It doesn't matter. I may have material desires, I may have desire for liberation, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. As long as I start the devotional process, because the process is pure, our hearts will get purified eventually. And then the last one is really, this whole chapter is just showing us about Dhruva Maharaj's determination, very strong determination. He was really focused on pleasing the Supreme Lord. And although it is a hard task, he was able to achieve it. So although we are not at that level, this is Srila Prabhupada's words, okay? How Srila Prabhupada is stating that by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, we have all been given concession possible for this age. So we should not neglect our prescribed duties and then follow in the footsteps of Dhruva Maharaj to see how he was very determined. And we should also be determined. See, this is very important. Srila Prabhupada is saying, we should also be determined to finish our duties in executing devotion service in this life. We should not wait for another life to finish our job. So that's really what it is, really focusing, taking this seriously to heart and learning from all of these personalities, how we can implement that in our own lives. And even if we don't have that much of determination and all of that, but we can definitely try within our capacity what we can do the best in order to please the Supreme Lord. So thank you so much, devotees, for giving me this opportunity. Vancha kalpa tarubhesha kripa sindhu